Good morning, family. Welcome to Morning Devotion Light. Today's Sunday, September 24th. Let's begin by greeting our Heavenly Parent and true parents. 천지인 참 부모님께 경배. Paro. Now for our family pledge, let's welcome Pastor Milhan Stevens.
가정맹세 1. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본향 땅을 찾아 본연의 창조의 상인 지상 천국과 천상 천국을 창건할 것을 맹세하나이다. 2. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 장부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 중심, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 성자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 3. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 4대 심정권과 3대 왕권과皇족권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 4. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님의 창조의 상인 천주대 가족을 형성하여 자유와 평화와 통일과 행복의 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 매일 주체적 전상세계와 대상적 지상세계의 통일을 향해 전진적 발전을 촉진화할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 장부모님의 대신 가정으로서 천운을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 7. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 생활을 통하여 심정문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 8. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 자녀국 시대를 맞이하여 절대 신앙, 절대 사랑, 절대 복종으로 신인의 일체 이상을 이루어 지상 천국과 천상 천국의 해방권과 석방권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Thank you, Pastor Milhan. Now for our opening prayer, I'd like to invite Genti. Genti, could you please unmute and pray for us today?
Yes, sure. Good morning. Our beloved friends, YouTube fans, good morning. We are today, this Sunday, September 24. And friends, we are really grateful for everything what you give in our life, and special. We are grateful to have a chance to live together with true parents and friends, and we have a chance at least once in our life to be in the same room with true parents. And friends, same time we really are sorry because we are not able to understand how important is all this experience we have in France to live together with true parents, and we are not able to understand value of having two mother now in France on the earth. We don't know for how long in France. We pray really in France for wisdom, having more and more every day in France, and understand the value of being together with two mother in this earth. And we pray in France especially for do mother health, protect her physically, spiritually in France, and through family, through children in France can really they can reflect and understand in France your will to mother and turn back and support your mother in France and defend them and continue to do your will in France. In France, we pray for all brothers and sisters, those families, members, especially those members who are facing difficult situation, healthy or spiritually, financially. They can find a way in France to overcome everything in France with faith in you and to parents. In France, we pray for our leadership, for Evangelion Dante, for all region leader, pastors. They can really unite all together in France, by sending two parents in you, and really take responsibility and to find the way how to in France overcome all difficulties which our church is going through in France, and all of us as a blessed family, members, who can unite in France in fulfilling our responsibility, and together with our ancestors, we can really move forward. Please be with us in France this morning delight, and we can prepare our spirit for Sunday service and invite you in France to be center of everything what we do in our life. With grateful heart, we offering this sport prayer together. Here's the brothers and sisters in our names, in my name, giving us in this family. Aju.
Achu. Thank you, Gente.
Thank you.
Okay, family, let's take a few moments to share our gratitude, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a good sharing. Michelle Lutz, would you like to share with us today? Michelle? Thank you.
Good morning, Kathleen.
Good morning.
Yeah, I was telling Brother John that I really appreciate his background, pumpkin. Now that we are in autumn, it's something special about the environment that God gave us for the fall. You know, the pumpkin, the leaves. I think it's a special gift that God gave us for this time of the year. It's kind of bring people a special happiness, special. You know, it's a lot to share about the pumpkin, and everybody put one. Not everybody, but everyone who has a home or even apartment, put it in their window, put it on their front lawn, and make everybody talk, you know, and it makes things easier for people to greet each other and make something special for autumn. This I really appreciate his background, and it reminded me that when I was little, my mother, in France, we don't put pumpkin for decoration. We cook pumpkin. We make pumpkin soup and pumpkin jam. This why it reminded me all of that this morning. This I thank God for the fall and what it brings, the joy that it brings, and you know, it just lifts our spirit in a special way. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Michelle. It just reminds me of my own childhood. Thank you. Okay, brothers and sisters, we're reading from our mother's memoir, The Mother of Peace. Pastor Milhan.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. Thank you. And Michelle, I'll never see pumpkins the same now. They're just, those cute little pumpkins are just going to bring so much more joy with your testimony. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's enjoy our Godable reading today.
Welcome to Mother of Peace, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. A memoir by Hak Jahan Moon, a production of the Washington Times Global Media Group, narrated by Alison Hiroto. Despite Father Moon's incarceration, our global work for peace continued. The 13th International Conference on the Unity of the Sciences, ICUS, was scheduled to convene within a month of his imprisonment. For more than a decade, this annual meeting had brought scientists from around the world to discuss the unity of the sciences centered on absolute values. Staff and the attendees needed to know whether the conference would be held. Critics of the conference scoffed, saying, "It's all about Reverend Moon. Without him, they won't do it." Ignoring this, I simply said, "We will certainly hold the conference," and the preparations continued. On September 2nd, 1984, our International Cultural Foundation conducted the 13th ICUS in Washington, D.C. More than 250 scientists attended from 42 countries. I met and greeted them one by one and took the podium to read the founder's address with confident resolution. Even though its founder was absent, the conference was a success. Scientists expressed gratitude, and the staff members were happy. Everyone could see that this movement is of God and does not depend upon one individual. The progress of our international conferences did not end there. In the summer of 1985, the Professors' World Peace Academy, PWPA, was scheduled to convene a global congress in Europe. Once again, I heard about the worries of the planners and participants, and I guided them as before. We will hold it as planned. Geneva, Switzerland was a conference venue. Dr. Morton Kaplan, a renowned political scientist at the University of Chicago, was the president of PWPA. He sought my husband's advice about the conference and met us at Danbury to receive it. Those days, my husband, even from prison, was acting on heaven's guidance to halt the advance of communism at America's doorstep in Nicaragua. His inspiration sparked the American president, Ronald Reagan, to take action. As this was unfolding, my husband and I saw that communism's global expansion camouflaged a serious crisis within its own borders and that its entire house of cards was soon to collapse. In 1970, Father Moon had prophesied that global communism would fall in the late 1980s. 70 years after its founding. And so, to this University of Chicago political scientist, my husband announced our theme for the conference: the fall of the Soviet Union. Dr. Kaplan, looking at the global reality externally, objected. Sociologists don't discuss something that has not happened. But Father Moon spoke with calmness and strength. Communism will perish, and the Soviet Union will collapse. You need to proclaim this fact at the gathering of scholars and professors from around the world. Dr. Kaplan again hesitated and asked, "How about if we say the possible fall?" Father Moon replied, "No, it's not just a possibility. Believe me and do as I say." As he departed with me from the meeting, I could see that Dr. Kaplan's head was spinning. He was a world-renowned scholar, and he could not speak what he considered empty words, much less convene a conference based upon them. He said 3 times that he wanted to tone down the conference theme. I told Dr. Kaplan not to worry about anything and to follow my husband's advice. He still was looking for a way out. With winsome eyes, he came up with, "Wouldn't it be possible to use a word softer than fall?" I didn't budge. My husband and I knew communism would collapse in the Soviet Union within a few years. From August 13th through 17th, 1985, the Second Professors World Peace Academy International Congress took place in Geneva with its title, The Fall of the Soviet Empire, Prospects for Transition to a Post-Soviet World. Hundreds of university professors discussed the fall of communism from all angles. They heard Father Moon's prophecy that communism will collapse within a few years. They pricked up their ears, having never dreamed of such an idea. They were amazed that we had the conviction to go against conventional wisdom and political correctness. Their nerves were a bit on edge for another reason as well. They were aware that the Soviet embassy stood directly across the street from the conference venue. Some renowned sociologists and professors criticized our proclamation, even quite harshly. But, as we had predicted, the Soviet Union was dissolved just 6 years later. Interestingly, when the Soviet Union actually dissolved, some of these same scholars explained it as if they had seen it coming, with very few noting that it was Father and Mother Moon who had first predicted what would happen, and even convened a conference with that as the specific title. My husband and I just continued on, working for the sake of the future. Even during his undeserved prison sentence, my husband greatly impressed other inmates with his exemplary demeanor and diligence. At first, the prisoners mocked him for being the founder of a strange new religion from the East and tried to pick quarrels with him. He handled it all with forbearance, warmth, and dignity. As he had told me, he was looking forward to seeing whom God had prepared for him to meet there. Prisoners naturally are struggling with anger, resentment, and selfishness, and he committed to make Danbury a place where love could flow. Prisoners soon learned that Father Moon would spend his weekly stipend in the prison dispensary and, through the week, give everything away to lonely inmates. He held an early morning prayer service, and other prisoners gradually joined him. Some of the inmates came to consider my husband a true teacher. Some called him the saint of the prison. Guards and prison officials were also impressed. The New York Post published a cartoon at the time of Father Moon's release, August 20th, 1985. It depicted all the prisoners bowing to Father Moon and one prison official saying to another, "Get him out of here before he calls a mass wedding." My husband and I chuckled over that. As his wife and the mother of our children, my husband's imprisonment was my imprisonment. The Danbury course parallels Jesus' trial in front of the Roman procurator Pilate and the punishment of his crucifixion. The forces that wanted Father Moon to disappear were always looking for an opportunity. The American FBI apprehended Red Army operatives in the United States who had been sent by the Soviet KGB and North Korea's Kim Il-sung to assassinate my husband. Among the prison inmates were men who harbored the same irrational hatred as those who had kidnapped Dr. Pak. My husband was living with such men, and no one could guarantee his safety. It was a modern version of Golgotha, as if he were on a cross with thieves to the left and right. Despite such circumstances, we threw our lives into the salvation of America. As a result, although we were harassed, accused, and imprisoned, my husband and I never gave up, and we never will, whether on earth or in heaven. One with his bones and flesh, with his thoughts mine and my thoughts his, I gave my entire mind and body to practice love for the sake of God's dream. I have walked this exhausting life course silently, as the one called to bring the human family together as the Mother of Peace, to heal our suffering planet as the Mother of the Universe, and to bring joy to our Heavenly Parent as His only begotten daughter. My husband once called me a high priest. He said that in God's dispensation until this era, men were the high priests, but we are entering the age of the wife, and women need to carry out the priestly ministry. It is women whom our Heavenly Parent is calling to serve as the mediators of forgiving, purifying, and regenerating grace to all humanity. I will not leave you as orphans. As the Last Supper approached, Jesus comforted his disciples, saying, "I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you." This passage condenses into a few words the path I have walked. Even though all human beings have parents, as we have wandered through history without knowing God or the true way of life, we have felt like orphans. I have striven throughout my life to lead humanity to the welcoming, forgiving, rebirthing love of God, who is our Heavenly Parent. As recently as the 1990s, if a woman headlined an event or speaking tour in a rural area of Korea, people would look in askance and dismiss the whole idea. They could not comprehend the idea that a woman could address audiences of women and for women. At that time, women had no public voice. Society officially declared that men and women have equal value, but in practice, such a declaration was hardly worth the paper it was printed on. No one, man or woman, could as much as find a starting point for an intelligent discussion of the matter. I had long pondered if and when women would fulfill their role as perfected human beings, as fully co-creative and significant members of society, and especially as daughters of God. My husband and I had deep experiences in prayer during the Danbury imprisonment, and we together concluded that it was time for the liberation of all women and for me to take a public role to teach and exemplify it. Thus arose a careful creation of the spiritual and physical foundations for what came to be called the Women's Federation for World Peace.
Thank you for listening to Godable. Visit motherofpeacebook.com.
Thank you, God, and your parents for these words today. I am so impressed with Mother. She is not just good at being a good leader, manager, detail-oriented, someone who creates wonderful environments for growth, development, and inspiration, and poetry, et cetera, but she's really good at raising up other people, including True Father. And here we see a lot of that today. So let's jump into the highlights. There's lots of them. A unity of the science centered on absolute values. Okay, so that's cool. We will certainly hold a conference, Mother says. So there's critics saying that, oh, without Father Moon, it's all about him. It's this personality cult. What's the conference going to be like without the personality cult leader? Mother's like, oh, well, those, dumb people, we're going to hold the conference anyway. and there's not going to be any issue. This is True Mother. I remember for IPEC, the International Peace Education Center in Las Vegas, even the people around True Mother were really doubtful about completing this project. And, Mother had to fight against her own leadership to build IPEC in Las Vegas. Plenty of critics, but she kept going. We have to remember that these projects, they're not just True Father's projects. These are True Parents' projects. And so True Mother she co-owned that decision with Father. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, okay, some things we'll leave behind. No, Mother knows where all the seeds were planted, and she knows which needs to be watered first. So we need to trust that. Also, like morning devotion, for example. It wasn't just Dr. Jung's creation. We co-own that. I mean, a lot of the people on this call, I know, Reverend Juanita and Ednerd, the Greens family. I mean, we co-founded morning devotion, right? So it's not like it's just going to disappear. I mean, we made this tradition together. So why would we stop? So this is the ownership that Mother had of our movement. Even though the founder was absent, the conference was a success. Now, I think Mother should give herself some more credit than that. It's not just it's not just the fact the founder was absent. I mean, Mother was leading. So that's why it was a success. Not just anyone can do that. Father Moon had prophesied that global communism would fall in the late 1980s. So keep in mind, communism, at least this evil atheistic communism, is it fell. Okay, some of us want to raise that ugly head again, but I think communism overall was not successful. At least the atheistic materialistic communism. I think this could be, I could be wrong, but I feel like the evil of today is the LGBT, this demonic gay agenda thing. Okay, I think that is the ugly head of today, to be frank with you. And I was a little distracted, as you can tell, and I did some research, and it looks like the Gay Manifesto was in 1969. So by that measure, actually someone has to do the math here. 70, what's 70 years? I guess 1940, I think it is, or 1939. I'm sorry, by 2039, I predict that the gay agenda will fall. And by that point, we would need to have beautiful churches and families where people want to come to. So, so Father was very confident in his prediction. He just needed someone to turn it on, to flick the switch so that people can be awakened to the true reality. Father said, and the mother said, you need to proclaim this fact oh no, this is a father saying this. Okay, you need to proclaim this fact at the gathering of scholars and professors from around the world. This is Dr. Kaplan, we're a political scientist from University of Chicago. So this is obviously an uncomfortable prediction, but I know that true parents owned that together. Both of true parents have lived under communist rule, and the peril that it causes families and communities. So they were extremely confident that this is a good move, a good decision, or a good thing to say. And then Dr. Kaplan, was still pleading even with Mother, can we tone it down a little bit? And Mother's like, do not worry about anything and follow my husband's advice. So true parents are totally united, and the fall of communism, it happened. Some of these same scholars explained it as if they had seen it coming, with very few noting that it was Father and Mother Moon who had first predicted what would happen. This is very typical. And it's not just for true parents, but even religious teachings. Like in the Old Testament, the Jews, they were saying, don't eat the bugs and and other rodents, they were teaching good hygiene and what do you call it? They didn't really know about bacteria until Louis Pasteur discovered bacteria. But they were able to keep their health, So it's like religion is always far ahead of science, and this is just at least my observation. And so our true parents are just way ahead of the curve on everything. Even tribal messiahship. It sounds like such a bizarre word, like tribal messiah. Like, what are you talking about? But I'll tell you, marketing today, they use tribes as a very commonly used marketing term to describe a niche market, a group of people who, like a community of people with similar interest. So they call those tribes. So again, we're honestly too far ahead of the curve. We have to find ways to make it more applicable and more relatable for people. I think that's our main task. Of course, we need to thoroughly understand the truth itself, but equally as important is the application of that truth into a way that people can understand in science and culture, and so the same. See, he was looking forward to seeing whom God had prepared for him to meet there in Danbury prison. Make Danbury a place where love could flow. So I think we would be wise to apply the Danbury spirit. I mean, we're of course we're not like completely poor and homeless or anything, or in prison, but in some ways we are constrained. We are in some kind of spiritual prison. We're not accepted by society necessarily, not yet, although I'm working on that. But we are in somewhat of a prison. So the best thing to do when you're in prison is to, see the upside and see this is a chance to focus on what really matters. Loving your neighbor. I'm sure Father was somewhat looking forward to prison because he can get some more sleep. His schedule is not so busy anymore, so he can focus on devotion, focus on doing, cleaning the toilets, things that he couldn't do before. So I always say when things get crazy, it's a good time to consolidate your top priorities, your family, your own junk song, your witnessing. It's a good time for all that. My husband and I never gave up, and we never will, whether on earth or in heaven. That's true. We are entering the age of the wife, and women need to carry out the priestly ministry. So I think this is, I know everyone Juanita talks about this too. Women, yes, we need men need to empower women, I believe, yes. Men need to give space for women to step up. I try to do that anyway. I don't profess to be an expert on this, but I try to give Saika more space to lead by taking care of the kids, being better at household stuff. So it gives her a little more freedom to take leadership, and to take initiative on things. At the same time, women also need to step up too. Sometimes women can be complacent in some sort of mediocrity, and I understand that's kind of how that's the culture's been that way. Just support the husband, but actually women need to not just support the husband, but also have a mind of your own and do something. So start your ministry, right? We don't have that much issue here. I think a lot of our women are very strong. So, but there is that is mother's frustration, I think. We felt like orphans. I've striven throughout my life to lead humanity to the welcoming, forgiving rebirth of God, love of God, who is our heavenly parent. So this sums it up really nicely. The purpose is to mother's mission is to bring forgiveness, rebirth through our true parent, through our heavenly parent. I could hear mother's frustration here. Society talks about men and women are equal, but it ain't really true. But she's not just saying that, she's taking action. She's becoming the role model. So she's long pondered if and when women would fulfill their role as perfected human beings, as fully co-creative and significant members of society, and especially as daughters of God. When I think of Ayumi, I'm so glad mother exists, because Ayumi has now this vision of what a true woman is. Not a servant of a man. Again, I know that's in America, we're not quite like that anyway. But also sometimes society has painted the successful woman as a promiscuous and, using her body to accumulate wealth. You see that a lot now. It's crazy. It's like you see these so-called musicians, these women who make millions and millions of dollars by using their body, basically soft porn, making music videos and stuff like that. And people would herald them as these are women empowerment leaders. It's like, no, that's not it. So it's, I'm so glad mother exists, because she is a spiritual leader. She's not just, creative person, but she is a spiritual leader as well. So women need to know that. We together concluded that it was time for liberation of all women, and for me to take a public role to teach and exemplify it. Aju, and thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my reflection.
Instead of communism, it's wokeism.
Mm. Yeah.
Thank you, Pastor Milhan. All right, family, let's take a few moments to share our reflections and be back in 5 minutes.
Oh, that's me. Okay. Let me create.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good sharing. Reverend Corley, could you please share with everyone? You may have to unmute. Yeah, Reverend Corley, you have to. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that there was an amazing prediction by True Father to boldly state with absolute confidence, Father and Mother with absolute confidence, that communism would collapse. And at a time when communism appeared to be very strong, and then to have it collapse in the way it did, with Gorbachev first allowing the Eastern European countries to go their own way. And, literally, he was a champion of democracy within the Soviet Union, but of course, democracy and communism cannot coexist. And so it wasn't working very well, but finally, when the load became too heavy, he allowed Eastern European countries to go their own way, and that was the beginning. And, sadly, Putin is trying to rebuild the Soviet empire by attacking Ukraine and trying to reclaim Ukraine. But I hope that doesn't happen. And that I mentioned in my talk, this just at the breakout room, that at the beginning of the conflict, I said that not only will Ukraine be liberated, but Russia will be liberated as well. And I'm still hoping that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Reverend Corley. Thank you. Okay, brothers and sisters, do we have any prayer requests?
Mm-hmm. The points that we should pray for True Mother, the 21 minutes prayer points, we can pray on those too. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's pray for Sunday service.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you're attending.
Pray for Pastor Stevens and his family.
Also, I'd like to ask if we could continue to pray for Dr. Winings. She was successfully gone through a very long surgery, and she's coming out of the ICU today. But anyway, she needs it's going to be a very long recovery process. So we got to pray for her. Yeah, it's a miracle that she's with us.
Thank you. Yeah, when you said 3 hours, I was thinking, no, I think it's going to be a lot longer than 3 hours.
It was, yeah.
Any other prayer requests, brothers and sisters? All right, then. Let's begin our 7 minutes unison prayer. She, Jacques, most beloved Heavenly Parent.
Thank you, Heavenly Parent, for each one of my brothers and sisters.
Heavenly Parents, I
Johann
thank
Stevens'
you
vision
that we are together as one family,
grasp,
dear
Father.
God.
Thank you so much, Heavenly Parent, for understanding, Father, the providence and heart of our true mother, and to grasp also. Thank you for the morning devotion this morning with our mother, reading our true mother's sense of everything. As he said also, even raising up father, this was one of the things that he said himself, a difficult thing for him to do, to become a son to a true mother, which in the family, everybody has to take every one of the roles. I'm so grateful for this particular morning devotion. It's so profound. Father of the LGBT and 2039. I pray that it can happen much earlier than that. I don't have to go that long. With True Mother being the one that's calling the shots now, Father, 2025. I pray that we can study the underpinnings, Father, of this meltdown of individual integrity and acknowledgement of who we really are as your sons and daughters. Animals don't have that, a male or female. We're not confused about that. We've been loading animals when we're not knowing who we are. And it's please allow this whole love mass, Father, that's a misuse of love mass, Father, that's originally rooted, Father, in Adam's family. The relationship with a husband and wife, actually, not between a brother and a sister, or brother, or sister and sister. It's really the parents, Father, who are confused about their role as the father and mother. I myself can really become very more clear even a parent, and we can join together as we can come together here and support each other, pray for each other, and understand, Father, the mother's heart directly speaking from the vantage point of the divine principle, Father, especially also for the sisters, to know the amazing value of the position, Father, that they're in, and with true mother leading now, direct shortcut from the true sisterhood, Father. And it's a very short time that we have. It was not 2,000 years with Adam coming back from Jesus, Father. We had 2,000 years to know what is a true Adam. Now we have a very short time, Father, to understand what is a true Eve. True mother showing that to us. Example, totally united with the true father, even though she knew exactly what was going on, and she had her own input sometimes. A different outcome, but she kept her quiet and kept her present time for us to really listen to true mother, listen to our mother, and we can really support each other in that way. We're all coming out of the fallen state and having that situation that we're confused about what to do next. But with the second and third generations, very clear, Father, grateful for Milan, for Joshua, and for all the second gen on this call. All different grasp on what has come down so far, that they can really inherit Father, what they have inherited. Earn it. Earn what they have inherited, Father. Pray for our daughters. Pray for all the second gen on this call, for each one of my brothers and sisters, for the 21 prayer point, Father, that we have, the mother safety and well-being and arrival, Father, 2025 vision of peaceful unification, not just Korean Peninsula and half the world population, and God as our heavenly parent. Pray for the Reverend Duncan's leadership and Bishop Kim's leadership, Damien, McKinney for our separation here, for this area, the area for the New York State and the city of New York. Pray for the state of New York as well, so that we can support it that land for the Deviant Mothers concerned, for Pan America, for the parts of the people, the government, appreciate your parents in Heavenly Parent, to know that we cannot do anything without you, Heavenly Parent. Pray also for Parents Foundation America, especially not coming down from rushing times in the New York hotel, Father. Stand strong, Father, and not have another Barrytown experience, Father. Pray for all the legal cases to be resolved amicably. Because I know true mother will forgive H1 and H2 and Cook if they step up the plate and say, I'm sorry, we were mistaken. We are giving everything back, and we are so sorry, true mother. Pray that she will be very, very generous, Father. Give them immediate freedom and liberation. Heavenly Father, pray for all the responsibility, elevation, foundation, setting our true mother has for the sake of the world. That we can fulfill that. Each one of us here on this call, we can really plug ourselves in all the way, Father, from the eldest to the youngest, with John, all the way up to Tobias, Father, for rebirth the May family, the Corliss, and everybody's health, both spiritual and physical. We can really study the word and make it our own, completely manifest and incarnate it. Father, pray for the Silas, the Watsons, the Tapias, and the Stewarts, and the Lutzes, the Pierre Louise, the Greens, Powers, and the Samsung people, Janella in the Philippines, the Quarries from Albania. Father, so grateful for to be with him today. The Gorotaskas for the Tamagres, the Carvos, Father.
Adieu. Thank you, everyone, for your prayers. Do we have any announcements?
'51 plus coming October 7th. Let your candidates know.
Yeah, not so many people have signed up for it. Christian mentioned it at our meeting the other night. So we're hoping that
we gotta drill down. Make phone calls.
And hopefully the pastors, will spread the word to their congregations.
Yeah, I want to make the announcement myself this Tuesday.
When you say 50,
call, and then do my own effort, huh?
When you say 51 plus, what do you mean?
So you've heard of 24 plus connect?
Yes, I got that. Yeah, 24 plus. Yeah.
Right. So that's for younger people to meet other single.
Right.
People.
But I thought you said 51 plus or something.
Right. So 51 plus is for older folks.
Okay.
Who are still single, need a spouse. Yeah.
I got the email about 24 plus, but nothing else. Yeah.
So 51 plus, it's actually for 46 and up. So
yes.
A great chance to at least know who they are. I mean, it's hard enough to find somebody. It's especially if they don't make themselves known. So
Nice.
This is a good chance to just make yourself known. And I know in Manhattan we have several people who are single, so they should sign up for it. And it doesn't happen on its own. You got to find them, call them, encourage them, because it's not easy to have hope. They need to know someone who cares enough to hold their hand through it. So yeah, that's our plan to do. We're gonna do it in Manhattan, New York City.
That's good.
There's a registration link which I can put in the chat. Let me get that for you. I know it's close here.
Like I was asking, can 51s and up from outside, you explained it to them, can they register?
They need to have unificationist understanding.
Okay.
So that they need to at least know who your parents are. They need, no surprises.
Right.
That's not going to be
easy.
A good use of our time to,
Some people say yes, and they don't really mean it. You have to really.
Well, that's true too. A lot of us are unificationists for who knows how long, and we still don't really have faith. So I know I get that too. Just I think just an understanding of unificationist values, for parents. Yeah, I mean, they gotta have something. Yeah, that's all.
Really love God, understand God, because when you understand God, you can.
Right. In theory, you should go in the Chun Shimon and pray about it, and then your parents will be revealed to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, we can talk about individual cases.
Okay.
I can look at them.
Okay.
Well, thank you everybody for coming.
Okay.
Be careful, be careful out there in the rain and the wind.
Ooh.
I think we're
Don't get
getting
sick like me.
right. I think we're getting the remnants of the hurricane down south. So please be safe out there. Get to church safely.
Okay.
So happy Sunday, everybody. Have a great day.
Amen.
God bless you. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
God
Have
bless
a
you
good day,
too.
Catherine. Have a
Bye.
good day,
Yeah.
Milan.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Get me to the church
Thank
on time.
you.
Get me to the church on time.
Hi, Chang. I saw you. I saw you on a video when Nancy Jubb was giving the sermon, and she asked if anybody had any reflections, and you raised your hand and talked about the 99.9% as a woman and a 0.1% as a man. I saw you. Thank you.
So cute.
Yeah. Have
Excellent.
a good day,
Have a
everybody.
good day, everyone. Juanita. Have a good day.
Okay.
Have a good day. Good day.